And jokes, for me, stuff kind of just comes out. I'll be having a conversation with somebody, and then I'll say something, and that'll be the joke. And they'd be like, "Oh, that was funny." And they'd be like, "Yeah." Hey. So after I'm sure I was talking to somebody and said that, and then I thought that would work. Then I call Arsenio up for that. He said, "Hey, is this funny?" And I said, and he said, "Yes, that's funny." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to say that."
It's very simple. There's three things you do. Just do these three things. Pay your taxes. Mind your business. And keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth.
I'm not going to try to unpack all of that right now, but I can say to all of you, there is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment.
We can all agree that Eddie Murphy is a pretty funny person, right? Well, it seems the comedian might have taken things too far with his adaptation of one of Will Smith's lowest moments in television history. And let's just say the latter isn't particularly laughing about the situation. But what he said about it will blow your mind.
You know, Tony Rock was my man. This is probably irreparable.
I mean, it's generally not every day an event like what took place at the Oscars with Will Smith and Chris Rock happened. But Eddie Murphy seems to have found it so intriguing that he recreated the whole thing on his own account. However, it seems his comedic creativity has now landed him in trouble with Smith, as the I Am Legend star seems to have revealed he has a problem with it. But what makes this story particularly interesting is that unlike most of the feuds you see in the entertainment industry, this one is between two veterans, so it's bound to go overboard, and that it did. However, it seems Murphy might actually have been asking for this from Will because his recent move just might have crossed the line a little, and I'll tell you how.
I don't think it's something that he would even call about. It was a good joke, a funny joke.
According to details currently in the headlines, as Murphy was honored with the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the 80th Annual Golden Globe ceremony Tuesday, the comedian actor surprised the audience with a joke about last year's Academy Awards and the moment when Smith hit Chris Rock on stage over a comment about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. As the actor wrapped his speech, Murphy shared a blueprint for success that he has followed his whole career, saying, "It's very simple. Just do these three things: pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name out your effing mouth." Of course, considering that his adaptation came from something that was already considered a global joke and was even made into memes, virtually everyone in the hall burst out laughing. But it seems Will Smith, who stands as the literal punchline of the joke, might have been the only person that didn't find this funny. This is why the entire social media went into a frenzy after the whole thing occurred, with most people asking questions ranging from what could have led Murphy to make that into a joke, all the way to how Smith was going to take it. Well, Murphy for his part didn't really have a problem talking about it, and that's even more interesting because he spoke his piece right after the awards show ended. And what he said will blow your mind.
Lessons: pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will
Smith's wife's name out your
mouth. You think you'll hear from Will?
No, but I love Will. I love Will and I love Chris.
When asked by reporters backstage whether he's spoken to Smith or Rock since the incident, Murphy said, "No, I haven't, but I love both of them." Murphy spoke to reporters afterward, saying, "Yeah, because in reality, I've worked with Jada. I love Will, and I love Chris, and it's all love." When Murphy was asked by Extra whether he thinks he will hear from Smith after making the joke, Murphy said no, and repeated his expression of love for both Smith and Rock. Murphy, to everyone's utter surprise, told the reporters that not only did he not feel bad about making the joke, but that he would have also made fun of the now infamous moment at the upcoming Oscars if he were hosting the ceremony in March. In his words, "I would have worked the joke that I did right in there some kind of way." He said, "You have to say something about it, then you move on."
There's been a lot of conversation actually going to the Oscars, like, will Jimmy Kimmel address it? Should he address it? If you were hosting the Oscars, would you address it?
If I was hosting the Oscars, I would have worked that joke that I did right in there in some kind of way. I think you have to say something about it.
You have to admit that's a pretty ballsy thing to say, considering that Will Smith literally smacked Rock for the very same thing, which is telling a joke. But there was a lot more to the story. Per the reports, the Academy Awards briefly came to a stunning halt Sunday night when Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, after which Will Smith went to the stage and hit him in the face. The incident started as Rock arrived to present the award for Best Documentary and began riffing about celebrity attendees. Jada, I love you, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it, Rock said, an apparent reference to Pinkett Smith's bald head. She has spoken publicly about her alopecia diagnosis several times.
Uh-oh, Richard! Oh, wow! Wow!
The camera cut to the star couple and showed Smith laughing. Pinkett Smith rolled her eyes and did not look pleased. Rock then held up his arms in a "who, me" gesture as some of the audience groaned. That was a nice one, Rock said with a grin and then looked as if he was ready to continue. But the tone changed as Smith jumped out of his seat and made his way to the stage. "Ethos," Rock said jovially. He started laughing as Smith kept walking. Then Smith slapped him in the face. The audience was still cracking up, perhaps thinking this was all a bit, and then abruptly stopped. ABC cut the sound on the broadcast, so there was about 20 seconds of silence. But things got even crazier down the line as Smith, who played Richard Williams, the father of tennis prodigies Venus and Serena in the biopic King Richard, appeared on stage about 40 minutes later to accept his prize for Best Actor. Smith cried throughout his speech, in which he didn't reference Rock directly but apologized to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and his fellow nominees for the disruption. "I look like the crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams," Smith said, possibly trying to lighten the mood of the still shocked audience. "But love will make you do crazy things."
Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family.
The moment stunned audience members, both at home and in attendance at Los Angeles' Dolby Theater, and went on to dominate online discourse after the ceremony's end. Reactions were split among those supporting Smith's extreme defense of his wife, those condemning his behavior, and the rest not knowing how to respond to it at all. After the show, the Academy released a statement saying it does not condone violence of any form. "Tonight, we are delighted to celebrate our 94th Academy Awards winners, who deserve this moment of recognition from their peers and movie lovers around the world." And while Eddie Murphy initially didn't react to the smack when it happened, it seems he has just shown the world his thoughts about it with his latest joke. And let's just say he might be sticking to Rock's side through this whole thing. At least that's what he implied when he spoke about his Will Smith joke after the event, specifically speaking about whether he got a reaction out of Will or the slaps recipient Chris Rock. Well, as Eddie exclusively revealed on the January 23rd episode of E! News, no, I haven't heard from anybody, but I don't think it's something that you would even call about. The 61-year-old continued, "It was a good joke, a funny joke, and I love him, I love Chris, and it's all love. I mean, you really cannot fault this man for making a joke out of the whole thing because if we're being honest, this was most likely going to come from a comedian sooner or later. It just depended on how close they were to Will Smith, and as we've seen from Murphy's case, it seems they really aren't all that close." However, it is important to mention that even though Murphy obviously had some feelings about Smith's reaction to Rock's joke, the Men in Black actor also tried to make amends for his outburst. But while after the altercation between the two celebrities, Smith opened up about the entire thing, offering up what looked like his most unvarnished thoughts about a confrontation that has marred his public image. At the time, he said, "It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris and the message that came back is he's not ready to talk. And when he is, he will reach out." Smith once again reiterated that he was sorry for his actions, calling his behavior unacceptable. The actor has said he responded violently because Rock's joke referenced the hair loss that Pinkett Smith suffers because of her alopecia. It's a struggle that Pinkett Smith has publicly addressed in the past.
No, I've been struggling with alopecia and just all of a sudden one day, look at this line right here. Look at that.
"There is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment," Smith, who sighs deeply at points and seems to be fighting back tears, says in the video. "There's no part of me that thinks that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults." Well, even though a lot of people would consider Will Smith's apology to mean things are square between him and Rock, it seems Murphy might not share that perspective. And it looks like some are upset with him for that very reason. One of such people might be this user who wrote, "Will Smith is just a human trying to get by like everyone else. We got way worse people to direct that anger at." So far, we haven't exactly heard anything from Smith, but with comments like these from his fans, he'll probably say something a lot sooner than we expect. That's it for this video. Goodbye.